Joseph Stalin was born on December 22, 1879, in Gori, in the Russian state of Georgia. He died on March 3, 1953, in Moscow, Russia. Joseph Stalin was thrown out of divinity school for reading the works of Marx. He helped Vladimir Lenin engineer the communist revolution in Tsarist Russia, and after Lenin's death, gained supreme power by physically getting rid of his rivals. During World War II, he and armies were victorious over the Nazis and helped plan the total defeat of Hitler's Third Reich. In payment for this, Stalin demanded and got control of the countries that bordered Russia to be a buffer against the West. This formed the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR. Stalin died at 73, leaving behind a legacy of tyranny and ruin.
The brave peasants who fought against the Russian Tsars during the Russian Revolution could not have known they were trading one tyranny for another far worse. The rule of the man who called himself Stalin, which meant man of steel. Lenin was the man who crafted the revolution. Stalin was its enforcer. While Stalin pretended to be friendly to his rivals, such as Leon Trotsky, he plotted how to eliminate them in order to move ahead politically. He quickly rose from Secretary of the Central Committee to Secretary General of the Communist Party, the highest office in the Soviet Union. With the death of Lenin in 1924, the Man of Steel began his famous purges. His rivals simply disappeared, never to be seen again. To dispel his evil reputation, Stalin staged elections for the cameras, but the outcome was already decided. By 1939, Stalin's own self-interest had replaced any communist ideals that he may have had. It suited his purpose to sign a peace pact with his enemy, Adolf Hitler, shocking the rest of the world and his own people. Hitler was no stranger to self-interest and broke the pact. Fearful of Germany, the Russian people rallied around their leader once again. At a meeting with U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill at Tehran, Iran, Stalin negotiated for the territory he wanted to receive after the war. In an effort to maintain the alliance, the two other leaders conceded. At the Potsdam Conference in 1945, Stalin pressured new U.S. President Harry Truman and Churchill for land in Eastern Europe as repayment for his country's role in the Allied victory. Stalin took control of these countries to make them a buffer between Russia and the West. The addition of these countries to Russia made up the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. In 1952, the 72-year-old dictator served as a pallbearer. Reminded of his mortality, his fellow party members began to discuss who might succeed Stalin. With the Russian economy a jumble of failed 5-year farm plans and economic policy that was almost all show and no substance, finding new leadership would not be easy. Also, the hard-fisted, emotionless Stalin almost did seem to be made of steel. The only thing that truly pleased him was the May Day parade that showed off his country's military might. The May Day parade celebrated Russia's victory over Germany at the end of World War II. In 1953, Stalin died. 2 years later, his successor, Nikita Khrushchev, denounced him as a monster in an attempt to start a new era of communist leadership. But the shadow of Stalin remained.
Joseph Stalin, a lifetime of accomplishment. Stalin studied Marxism with Lenin and was exiled several times by the Tsar for expressing his communist views. A persuasive writer, he served on the board of Pravda, the Bolshevik newspaper. Under Lenin, he successfully took charge of a food transport program. At Lenin's death, he took over the Communist Party and the Russian nation. He fought on the side of the Allies and helped defeat Hitler. He gained control of the surrounding Eastern European nations, which remained part of the USSR until late in the 20th century.